It is Friday. It's the 30th of August. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Making news today. First, with or without the United Nations, that's the sentiment coming from the French president. François Hollande has told the national newspaper that if the UN Security Council is prevented from acting on Syria, a coalition will be formed. In the report in Le Monde, he says such a coalition will need to be as large as possible. It will lean on the Arab League. And on Thursday's UK Parliament vote against military involvement in Syria, very different from what happens in France right now. Tika Schubert is at Downing Street in London, and she joins us now. It was quite a dramatic debate in the House of Commons on Thursday night that went into the late hours, and of course it came as a rejection for David Cameron.
Yes, very much a defeat, 25 to 272 votes. And it really was a surprise. You probably remember, of course, just a few days ago, Prime Minister Cameron was pushing for quick, decisive action on Syria. It was really he who was pushing the Obama administration to be much tougher with Syria.
Atika, thank you very much for that. Atika Schubert there reporting to us from Downing Street. Well, the United States says President Obama will act in the best interests of America when it comes to Syria. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says he respects Britain's decision, but the U.S. will still look for a coalition to take action against the Syrian government.
It is the goal.
Well, let's bring in CNN's chief congressional correspondent, Dana Bash, in Washington for the latest. And Dana, all eyes are now on the White House this Friday to see what President Obama is willing to do. Now, this is a president who got elected in part for his stance to get the U.S. out of war. So now with the Brits saying they're not going to be a part of it, what are his options?
Certainly, in some ways, may make it more difficult. In some ways, ironically, could make it easier.
Thank you for that. Dana Bash there live for us from Washington. You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. I'm Monita Rajpal. UN weapons inspectors are wrapping up their probe of alleged chemical attacks in Syria. They have visited different sites, including the Damascus suburb of Zamalka, and are expected to leave by Saturday morning. He is in neighboring Lebanon, and he joins us now live from Beirut with more on their visit today. Fred?
Hi, Monita. And the interesting thing when the weapons inspectors left their hotel earlier this morning is that they weren't...
Before we move on, I want to bring you up to date now on what we've been talking about, how the British Parliament yesterday voted against going into military action in Syria, or military intervention, I should say, in Syria. But the British Prime Minister, it was a resounding rejection of his support for military intervention. Now, and according to some early wires that are coming in right now, according to the wires that are coming into the newsroom right now, we understand that he will speak to President Obama over the next day or so over the Parliament vote, and he will say that he says he understands. He will tell Obama that he understands the need to listen to the people over Syria, and he says he thinks the American people, again, says need to listen to the people over what is needed in Syria. Meanwhile, what is needed in Syria is humanitarian aid as the crisis continues to grow there, and the talk of potential Western intervention is causing Syrians to leave the country in even greater numbers. NGOs in neighboring Lebanon are preparing for an influx of more refugees. CNN's Arwa Damon has been meeting some of them, and we do warn you, you may find some of the images that begin her report disturbing. And Arwa joins us now. And Arwa, you talking about panic and fear. Give us a little bit more of a reaction from within Syria and from the region as well in terms of this potential military strike.
Well, at this point, Monita, any conversation that we've been having with Syrian activists...
Just to update you on what the British Prime Minister David Cameron has just been saying. Again, this is all in reaction to the vote yesterday of the Houses of Parliament and the rejection of British military involvement in potential any intervention in Syria. He says it is important we uphold the international taboo on the use of chemical weapons. And he said that but British military action won't be happening Kong. We will not be taking part in military action. The British Parliament has spoken very, very clearly. That doesn't stop us condemning the Assad regime. Again, this is the word from the British Prime Minister just moments ago in London. You are watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Pitted against an inferno, firefighters are battling to contain a massive wildfire in California. Watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Let's get you caught up on some of the other stories we're following for you. The U.S. is sending an envoy to North Korea to try to secure the release of Kenneth Bae. North Korean authorities sentenced Bae, a U.S. citizen, to 15 years of hard labor for, quote, serious crimes against the government. He is widely reported to be a Christian missionary. Egyptian security forces have arrested a senior Muslim Brotherhood leader. Mohammed al-Baltagi is accused of inciting violence following the overthrow of then-President Mohammed Morsi. State media say he was arrested in Giza province. A number of Muslim Brotherhood leaders have been arrested since Morsi's ouster. Veteran children's TV host in Britain, Rolf Harris, has been charged with child abuse. The Australian-born entertainer is accused of multiple counts of indecent assault and making indecent images of a child. The charges date back to 1980 and stem from a British investigation into another TV personality. Russia's president has ordered an inquiry into local officials' handling of floods that have devastated parts of the country. Vladimir Putin made the announcement while touring regions hardest hit by the deluge. Thousands of people have been evacuated as a result of the flooding. Well, for more on the flooding in northeast Russia, let's go to our meteorologist, Mari Ramos, at the World Weather Center. Mari?
Monita, you know, it's a little bit hard to tell, even from that perspective there, that the president, from the images anyway.
All right, Mari, thank you very much. You are watching CNN News Center. I'm Monita Rajpal, live at CNN Hong Kong. Thank you for joining us. Stick around, though. I'll update you the news headlines in just 2 minutes.